welcome to the next module. In this module, we will be looking at animal biodiversity in the Arctic, Part 1. What is animal biodiversity? Why Arctic animal biodiversity is important? How we can study it? What steps we can take to preserve it? These are all some of the questions which we will be addressing in this module. So let us start with understanding what is the distinctiveness in the Arctic environment. The Arctic stands out due to its distinctive biological, physical and chemical characteristics. Organisms in this region have evolved to endure harsh conditions such as prolonged darkness, severe cold and a short summer period when food becomes abundant. The Arctic ecological dynamics are influenced significantly by its harsh and variable climate across different locations and seasons. Species in the Arctic must cope with extended period of food scarcity or absence, sometimes migrating to warmer southern latitudes. The intricate biodiversity of Arctic is woven through interactions among terrestrial species, habitats and ecosystems alongside those in the marine realm. We are going to look at a few Arctic animals. Some of the species names are given: seabirds, anadromous fish, polar bears, seals and indigenous people. Of course, indigenous people are also part of the Arctic ecosystem. So, we will be mainly looking at who are all present in the Arctic ecosystem. The primary habitat of all the species is for seabirds, it is they are generally nesting on the land. Fish lives in the marine ecosystem. Polar bear, they have the den on the land, that is mainly in the snowpacks, but they hunt primarily on the sea ice. So, they live both in land and marine sea. In the case of seals, the primary habitat is the sea ice. They make home in ice and hunt in the ocean. And indigenous people live in all the systems: marine system, land, oceans, sea and terrestrial systems. All the systems the Arctic indigenous people live. And when we look at the feeding habitat, seabirds feed on ocean or lakes and rivers. Fish feed on fresh waters, polar bears on sea ice, seals on ocean, indigenous people on all the marine, terrestrial, freshwater and coastal region. Let us look at the Arctic ecosystem. We have four major areas. One is freshwater, another one is marine, the third one is coastal and we have the terrestrial. So, these are all the major areas where Arctic animals live. And in the freshwater, we have zooplankton, diatoms, phytoplanktons, benthic invertebrates, fish and macrophytes live in freshwater. And in the marine system, we have lots of species which live starting from polar cod to microalgae and other protists. Everything live in the Arctic region, mainly in the marine ecosystem. And the next one is the coastal ecosystem. In the coastal ecosystem, we have pelagic fishes, salmonids, waterfowl, whales and vegetation is also present here. Zooplankton and phytoplankton also live in the coastal region. Seabirds also live mainly in the coastal region. And when we look at the fourth one, which is the terrestrial one, we have pollinators, birds and vegetation communities and assemblages all present. This is present in terrestrial system. Birds, we have insectivore, carnivore, omnivore and herbivore. All type of birds are also there. So, all these things live in the terrestrial ecosystem. And we have small predator mammals, parasites, parasitoids and everything live here. So, what species we do not see in the Arctic, because we had seen so many species in the Arctic, but there are many species which do not live in the Arctic. Let us look at who are they. So, due to physiological constraints, amphibians and reptiles are very few in the Arctic. Giraffe, bats, mouse, beetles, slugs, caterpillar, ladybug do not inhabit Arctic. And some of the modern day animals like camels, elephants, lion are not seen in the Arctic currently. But their ancestors like Paracamelus, woolly mammoth, Panthera leospelia would have lived in the Arctic. So, how do we know these creatures lived in the Arctic? Maybe if you had seen the movie Ice Age and other things, there they say the woolly mammals living in the Arctic region. In fact, many animals have their ancestors lived in the Ice Age. So that's what when you watch the movie Ice Age 1, 2, 3, 4, they talk a lot about the woolly mammoth and other animals which lived in the polar or the icy regions. Currently, they all become extinct. In fact, one interesting fact is that even though lions do not live in the Arctic, many Nordic countries have lion in their coat of arms. For example, you take Sweden, Denmark and Norway. They all have lion in their coat of arms. Let us look at what are all the different animal adaptation to the Arctic environment. We have four major categories. One is the morphological one, the next one is physiological, then ecological and evolutionary adaptations animals have taken place. In the case of morphological adaptations, they have thick coats of fur or feathers, and they also follow Allen rule. We will see what is Allen rule. And in the case of physiological adaptations, they conserve energy in low winter temperatures. Then they have the ability to metabolize below the freezing point. So these are all some of the physiological modifications or adaptations. And when we look at the ecological one, a short growth or breeding season the animals will have. A nomadic lifestyle, seasonal migration are some of the very unique features seen in this Arctic region. And when we talk about the evolutionary one, freeze tolerance and freeze avoidance are very important things. Also, dark pigmentation for many creatures. So these are all some of very specific to the Arctic animal adaptations. Let us look at some of examples of these animal adaptations. For example, fat storage, when we talk about it, is mainly for reindeer or caribou and the Arctic fox. They have this specific adaptation. The reduced body core temperature and basal metabolism in the winter is for Arctic fox. Hibernation during winter, mainly Arctic ground squirrels. Most homeothermic animals are active throughout the year. And the small mammals, shrews, vows and lemmings with relatively large heat losses due to high surface to volume ratio stay in the subnivean space, that is a cavity below the snow where they are protected from low temperature during the winter. Even medium-sized birds and mammals such as ptarmigan and hares seek thermal refuge in snow caves when resting. So these are some of the adaptation typical of Arctic species.